Man, what a great song that is. 8:36 at Big 96.1. We're very fortunate this morning to have the governor of the state of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, on the telephone with us. How are you doing this morning, Governor?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. It's really an honor to get to talk with you this morning. We were what was it, about 3 months ago, you were here in the studios. You were running for governor, and just a pleasure to do an interview with. And I'm still waiting for you to come back and bring the bus back by so we can go for a ride in it.
Yeah, we're working on that. I think after we get through with this session, we may get back out on that bus and travel back around the state. It's always a lot of fun to be out and about in the community, and we're ready to get out of Little Rock for a day or two and hit the road for sure.
You, when usually when a politician or a person gets in office and then they're always like, well, we're going to be doing this and this is going to not Sarah Sanders. No way. The governor, you are moving. Your signature comes 16 days after you introduce a bill. It's called the LEARNS Act. We've got a social media thing that you're working on. And, the LEARNS Act, of course, I think works out really well because, here in El Dorado, we have the El Dorado Promise,
Right.
uh, an opportunity for everyone to get a great education. Tell us a little bit how in the world this LEARNS Act, of course, you say it's a new era of freedom, opportunity, and prosperity for all, and that parents and kids can actually choose their school. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, we wanted to take a comprehensive approach and look at education. We didn't want to just tinker with the system, but really came to flip it on its head and make sure that we were looking at every aspect, from everything from expanding access to pre-K and making sure we're putting kids with a really solid foundation on things like literacy and numeracy, improving those scores, and really investing heavily in the success of our students, as well as investing in the biggest way we have in decades in our teachers, making sure that we are rewarding and retaining the best and the brightest around the state. And we have done that by going from the very bottom, 48th in the country, to in the top 5 in teacher pay, and making sure that every single teacher across the state of Arkansas gets a bonus, as well as opening up opportunity for a number of other incentives. Lastly, another big piece is making sure that our parents are empowered to make decisions about how their kids and where their kids can best be educated. There's nothing that's more local than the decision-making power of a parent. And we know that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. I'm a mom of 3, and I have 3 very different children who need different things when it comes to their education. And so making sure that I have the ability to decide how we can best meet those needs, I think can make a real difference in the lives of our students and set them up for long-term success. And we're really excited about what this is going to mean for the state and for our families.
I remember when I was growing up, school choice was, it was just a given. You had a list of all the schools in Shreveport, and you checked whichever one you wanted. And that's the school you went to. Now, I know a lot of things have changed and all that kind of stuff. But your legislation calls for raising the minimum teacher salaries, introducing universal pre-K, banning teaching on gender identity, sexual orientation, and reproduction before the 5th grade, and banning things like critical race theory. A lot of stuff that a lot of people would say is just what the talking points are today. In a year from now, people aren't going to be wanting to do that stuff anyway. And so you're moving forward. There's no doubt what you're looking at, going back to the core of education, which is certainly a good thing. Now, there are some critics, and I can't believe this, but critics that say at the end of the day, it's only going to be for a few people. And kind of it means to enroll their child in private or charter institutions or homeschooling and things like that as a tax stipend. So what do you say to those people?
Well, we want to open up opportunity to everyone, and that's what this is about. We want to make sure that Our public schools are on a continued building process so that they're getting better and better every day. I think by and large, in many cases, the public school is going to be the best option for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
students in our state, and expect that that will fully continue. It may be even that it's a different public school within a community that best fits the needs of a certain student. And so we want them to have that option. And again, this is one of the biggest investments that we've seen and biggest, I think, reform packages when it comes to education. So it doesn't just touch on school choice, but in a number of other places as well. Things like deploying 120 literacy coaches to districts and schools all across the state to really help bolster one of the most important benchmarks that we know of, and that's whether or not a child can read by the time they're in third grade. If a kid's not reading at that very critical moment, we are setting them up for a lifetime of failure. And that to me is simply
Yeah,
unacceptable. And right
absolutely.
now, only 35% of students in the state of Arkansas in the third grade are reading at or above a third grade reading level, which means the majority of our students in the state can't read, and we have to do better. Just sitting back and hoping things change and get better is simply not an option. We have to make changes, and we can't just tinker with it. We have to flip things on their head and really change the status quo, because the status quo is not empowering our students and setting them up for a lifetime of success. And that's what we want to see happen. I think this legislation will have a generational impact and change lives, not just in the next year or two, but for decades to come.
So also on the agenda is big tech being a threat to the kids. We've that's in the news every day, and so now introducing legislation to require media companies to verify new users that they're 18 plus. Now, there's already a federal law in place where you have to be 13 to post on social media, but I don't know that they're actually you know doing anything to police that or whatever.
Yeah, there's no verification system in place, and all of the information out there. There's been a significant amount of research and data that shows the dangers of young people on social media, not just the mental impact. Certainly, that is a huge piece of it. We are
Sure.
seeing depression, anxiety, and suicide rates skyrocket, particularly among teen girls. A lot of studies suggest that's because of the regular use of social media. It's also a huge target point for human trafficking, access
Sure.
to drugs, a number of other just really dangerous aspects that we want to protect our kids from. Like I said, I'm a mom of three, and I'm always looking for things that I can do to protect my kids. No one is saying that if you're under the age of 18, you can't be on social media. We're simply saying you need parental consent. We have a lot stronger and harsher protections in place for a lot of other things like smoking and alcohol and driving that completely prohibit. This just puts an age verification component in there and allows parents to make a decision about whether or not they think their kids should be exposed to the things that are on social media.
It's funny because the internet was to me it's always been the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's getting to be more of the bad and the ugly. Hiding behind that monitor, and then your people are just, and it's crazy. So you've got the Natural State Initiative too. I know you want to grow Arkansas, and then I want to ask you specifically about South Arkansas. You're from Hope, and I know you love South Arkansas too. And what we really want in South Arkansas, as I told you before, is we want to have the access to be able to grow. I guess we would have to parallel it to like Northwest Arkansas. Uh, and I know there's a lot of things on the on our side that we have to do, but I'm hoping the economic development in South Arkansas can be part of the agenda to make sure the entire state is served well. And we have a great military complex in Camden. Any particular plans with South Arkansas that's on your mind?
Absolutely. Like you said, I'm from South Arkansas. My parents are from Hope. I grew up in Texarkana as well as Pine Bluff, and then went to college in Arkadelphia. So spent a lot of time in different places in South Arkansas and really have a lot of connection and just personal passion for that part of the state and want to see it continue to grow and be more successful. I think education is certainly one of the things that helps us on that front. Infrastructure is another huge piece of that puzzle, is making sure that the goods and services that the great people of South Arkansas are making and producing, we have the ability to move them around the state and, frankly, around the country. You have some incredible anchor industries there in that part of the state. We want to see those continue to grow, whether it's the oil and gas or timber industry, or you mentioned some of the military facilities that we have in that part of the state that are really on the rise. And we want that to continue. I think one of the biggest challenges that I heard when I was traveling around the state during the campaign, and not just South Arkansas, but it's every corner of the state, every industry I spoke to, is that they can't find and hire the skilled, qualified workers that they need. So that's one of the reasons that our education plan focused so heavily on building up that foundation, but also a lot of things in the workforce readiness space, things like a dual diploma graduation and incentives for career technical education, making sure we are building that skilled, qualified workers that industry is demanding. And I think by doing that, we are helping bolster places like South Arkansas and going to continue to see them grow. And again, for me, it's personal. So I want to see the success of that part of the state, not just because it's important to our overall economy, but also because it's a big part of who I am and where I grew up. And so I want to see it just thrive.
We're talking with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of the state of Arkansas, the first female to do that. And, I always complain when I hear people say that. It's like, if the person's qualified, what does it matter? But congratulations on that honor. Now, I've got two quick questions. I know you got to go. Number one is, your last name is Sanders. Are you related to Colonel Sanders?
No, but I did like Arkansas has the Arkansas Traveler Award for those who are here from out of state. In Kentucky, they have the Colonel Award, similar to what we give here. And a few years ago, I received the Colonel Award from Kentucky. So I guess technically I'm a Colonel Sanders, but certainly not related.
That's great, Governor. Now, the other question, and you feel free to just pass on this one. Being the press secretary for the President of the United States, has it really gotten that much harder, or does it just seem that way?
I think it's definitely harder because more people are paying attention. There's more access. Used to, the only time you could see the press briefing is if you had your TV turned to one or two of the major news stations. And now everything that happens in that room is broadcast and rebroadcast over and over and over again because of social media and things like that. And so I definitely think the job has gotten harder, but it's much, much harder in this administration because they have a terrible story to tell. In the 2.5 years I was in the Trump administration, we were actually doing things that helped the American people, and that makes that job a whole lot easier when the economy is strong, when our borders are strong, when our allies actually respect us and our enemies fear us, and we are leaning into all the good aspects of our country and really building up the American spirit. It's a totally different ballgame than what they're experiencing right now. And I'm glad I got to be the press secretary in the Trump administration and not this one.
I'll tell you what, you did a great job while you're up there. And it looks like, you're off and running as governor of the state of Arkansas. And we appreciate everything that you do. And thanks again for taking out the time. I know you're obviously very busy with running the state, but thank you very much. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of the state of Arkansas. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care of yourself. Man, what a great interview. She's such a fun person. 9 minutes away from 9 o'clock. It's Big 96.1.